So where is Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy? Well, as the war in Ukraine rages on, he is in Brussels this morning as European Union leaders meet to hold defense talks. Let's connect now with CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio in London to talk more about this. Ramy, good morning to you. What is significant about this Brussels meeting and how is it different than the smaller summit we saw with Zelenskyy earlier?
Sure. Well, this meeting is being called extraordinary, and we can see it sort of as the sequel to the London Crisis Summit that we reported on Sunday. Extraordinary here, meaning it's out of the regular EU schedule, but another word that is being used to describe this is an emergency meeting. And Ukraine's President Zelenskyy is there right now with the 27 leaders of the EU in Brussels, along with the executive branch of the European Union, President Ursula von der Leyen, and NATO Chief Mark Rutte. But when you boil this all down, the goal, in von der Leyen's own words, is to find ways to rearm Europe. And there is even a European Commission webpage about the Rearm Europe plan. The why here is because of the fear, we've been talking about this all week, of American unreliability under Trump. The fear there. The how, though, appears to be mainly by increasing defense budgets that have historically been underfunded, even by the EU's own admission, and because of a reliance, many might even say an over-reliance on the United States. And just last night, going into the summit, French President Emmanuel Macron gave an address to his nation warning of Russia and the need for Europe to precisely rearm. He said that, I want to believe the U.S. will stay by our side, but we have to be ready. If that isn't the case, there it is on the screen there. But one quote that stuck with me, he said, "Who can believe today that Russia would stop at Ukraine?" So the fear there, he's talking about that Ukraine will just be the first edge of a potentially larger conflict with the rest of Europe. They're talking about a massive 800 billion euros now. That's about $850 billion for rearming Europe. And today, it's halfway through right now. We're looking to see if any hard numbers do drop from that summit.
So the fear is real, but those numbers are massive. How would the EU pay for that? Where would this money come from? I guess that's what they're trying to hammer out now.
Absolutely, yeah. The will is there, at least in the words, but the way is not quite known. But it looks like the EU will try to change their own rules. The EU has a policy that keeps all of its member countries from spending no more than 3% of their GDP. Now, to make this a little bit easier to understand, let's say that there's an imaginary country, country X, that makes a round number of $100,000 a year. So 3% of that is $3,000, right? So a country could only spend $103,000 a year. But the EU proposal is to raise that to 4.5%, and that in between, the 3% to 4.5%, all that money in between can then be used for defense. So looking here, the breakdown would theoretically be about 650 billion euros that could be gotten from that change in 3% to 4.5% of budget, and then another 150 billion euros could come from new EU loans. Altogether, again, 800 billion euros in US dollars, about $850 million. We're talking close, really, to nearly 1 trillion here, Errol.
Wow. All right, Ramy, we'll keep watching this closely. Thanks very much.
You bet.